Previously on World History and Geography.
During ancient times, many great civilizations rose and fell. One of the most influential civilizations of the Western world was classical Greece. Located on peninsulas in the Mediterranean Sea, Greece's art, architecture, religion, and government would directly influence a new city to the west that was developing and increasing its power, Rome.
And now, our feature presentation.
Me take you back to ancient Rome.
Thank you, Cookie Monster. And remember, a cookie is a sometime food. According to legend, the city of Rome was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus and Remus, twin sons of the god Mars and a Latin princess. The twins were abandoned on the Tiber River as infants and raised by a she-wolf. The twins decided to build a city on 7 rolling hills near the Tiber River. In reality, it was men, not immortals, who built the city, and they chose the spot largely for its fertile soil and strategic location at the midpoint of the Italian peninsula and the Mediterranean Sea. In 509 BCE, the Romans overthrew the Etruscan king who ruled over Rome and his own people to the north. The Romans declared they would never again be ruled by a king. Instead, they established a republic, which means public affairs. A republic is a form of government in which power rests with citizens who have the right to vote for their leaders, like we have here in the United States. In Rome, citizenship with voting rights was granted only to free-born male citizens. The basis for Roman law was the 12 Tables. This set of rules stated that all free citizens were protected by law. The government had 3 parts. 2 consuls or officials were elected each year who led the government, and the army made up the first part. The second part of the government was the Senate. It usually had 300 members chosen from the upper classes who passed laws. The third and most democratic part of government was the assemblies. The assemblies included members from different parts of society, such as citizen soldiers or working-class plebeians. The assemblies could also make laws. If there were a crisis, the republic could appoint a dictator. This was a temporary leader with absolute power. All citizens who owned land were required to serve in the army, which enabled Rome to grow larger by force. By 265 BCE, the Romans were masters of nearly all of Italy. With its good location, Rome saw growth in trade. This brought it into conflict with Carthage, a trading city in North Africa. From 264 to 146 BCE, Rome and Carthage fought 3 bitter wars called the Punic Wars. In the first war, Rome won control of the island of Sicily. In the second, Hannibal, a brilliant Carthaginian general, invaded northern Italy by crossing the Alps with elephants. He and his soldiers did much damage, but he was unable to take Rome. By the time of the Third War, Carthage was no longer a threat to Rome. Even so, Rome destroyed the city and slaughtered and enslaved the citizens, and what was left of Carthage became a new Roman province. Rome's victories in the Punic Wars gave it dominance over the western Mediterranean. The Romans then went on to conquer the eastern half. As Rome grew, the gap between rich and poor grew wider. Small farmers found it difficult to compete with the large estates called latifundia that were run by the labor of enslaved people. By 100 BCE, enslaved persons formed perhaps 1/3 of Rome's population. Sometimes these slaves rebelled.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
But always unsuccessfully. A large number of small farmers just could not compete and sold their lands to the wealthy landowners and became homeless and jobless. Adding to the problems within the Republic was a breakdown of the once loyal military. Soldiers recruited from the landless poor fought for pay and owed allegiance only to their commander. Eventually, an extended period of social unrest led to a series of civil wars and a change in Rome's government. In 60 BCE, a military leader named Caesar— no, that's the wrong Caesar. No, not that either.
It seems to me the only thing you have learned is that Caesar is a salad dressing dude.
That's Julius Caesar, who joined forces with Crassus, a wealthy Roman, and Pompey, a popular general. With their help, Caesar was elected consul in 59 BCE. For the next 10 years, these men dominated Rome as a triumvirate, a group of 3 rulers. Power plays between these rulers led to another civil war, where Julius Caesar won and the Senate appointed him dictator for life in 44 BCE. Hey, what do you call a Roman emperor with a cold? Julius Sneezer!
Silence!
As Rome's absolute leader, Caesar made some reforms that increased his popularity. Many nobles and senators expressed their concern over Caesar's growing power, success, and popularity. Some feared losing their influence. Others considered him a tyrant. On March 15, 44 BCE, a group of senators stabbed Caesar to death in the Senate chamber.
Et tu, Brute?
Yep, Brutus too. He was stabbed 23 times, or maybe it was 33 or 35. Who knows? What we do know is He's dead. After Caesar's death, there was another civil war, which destroyed what was left of the Roman Republic. To make a long story short, Caesar's 18-year-old grandnephew Octavian, who Caesar had adopted, joined with an experienced general named Mark Antony. No, not Mark Antony, Mark Antony. Along with a powerful politician named Lepidus. In 43 BC, they took control of Rome and ruled for 10 years as the Second Triumvirate. Well, surprise, surprise, their alliance ended in jealousy and violence, and a civil war. To make a long story short, Octavian defeated the forces of Mark Antony and his girlfriend Cleopatra of Egypt. Octavian became the unchallenged ruler of Rome and accepted the title of Augustus, or Exalted One. He also kept the title Imperator, or Supreme Military Commander, a term for which emperor is derived. Rome was now an empire, ruled by one man. You know, I had a dream not too long ago that Emperor Augustus was talking to me. I have no idea what he said because I don't speak Latin. Rome was at the peak of its power from the beginning of Augustus's rule in 27 BCE. For 207 years, peace reigned throughout the empire, except for some fighting with tribes along the borders. This period of peace and prosperity is known as the Pax Romana, Roman peace. During this time, the Roman Empire was big, and it included more than 3 million square miles. Its population numbered between 60 and 80 million people, and about 1 million people lived in the city of Rome itself. It relied on farming, which employed 90% of all workers. Trade was also important. Traders used common coins to buy and sell goods, which made trading easier. Rome had a vast trading network. Goods traveled throughout the empire by ship and along the Roman roads. The Roman Navy protected trading ships. Roman roads were technological marvels. The army built a vast network of roads constructed of stone, concrete, and sand that connected Rome to all parts of the empire. Many lasted into the Middle Ages. Some are still used today. Emperor Augustus brought peace to the frontier, built many public buildings, and created a lasting government. He also set up a civil service. That is, he paid workers to manage the affairs of government. After Augustus's death in AD 14, the system of government that he established maintained the empire's stability. After the death of Augustus, the emperors, some of them good, some of them bad, including Nero, who people say fiddled while Rome burned, began to use the title Caesar for emperor. Hail Caesar! Caesar would later influence other titles for leaders wanting to sound powerful, like the Kaiser in Germany and the Tsar, or Tsar, in Russia. Between AD 96 and AD 180, the 5 good emperors ruled. During the time of the empire, much of the city's population was unemployed. The government supported these people with daily rations of grain and bread. To distract and control the masses of Romans, the government provided free games and chariot races at the circus or track. Most popular were the mock battles and gladiator contests. By 250 CE, there were 150 holidays a year. On these days of celebration, the Colosseum in Rome, a huge arena that could hold 50,000 people, would fill with the rich and poor alike. The Colosseum, whose name comes from the Latin word colossus, meaning gigantic, was complete with underground locker rooms and cages for gladiators and animals. In the animal shows, wild creatures brought from distant lands, such as tigers and lions and bears, oh my, fought to the death. In other contests, gladiators engaged in combat with animals or with each other, often until one of them was killed. Sometimes they would even flood the floor of the Colosseum and hold mini naval battles. Out of these programs sprung the term bread and circuses, which became a term describing when a government tries to create public approval, not with sound public policy, but with distractions.
Squirrel!